ding dong dee daddy ding dong dee daddy ding dang ding dang ding dong dee daddy ding dang dee daddy ding dang dee daddy ding dang ding dang dong. And welcome to Matt's Box Mania episode. What we got? You know what we got. Java. The old edition, the Ravensburger edition. It's going to be a shortish video, there's not much to say about this box. Right. First thing to say about this box. Let's just take the lid off, if I can. Again, stupid old. I mean, there's plenty of problems, plenty of things to talk about. When I do these videos and talk about my boxes, it's always about how I've cut up the old box. That's always the main issue. Because of this, the Java board is a certain size. Now, as I've talked in previous videos, I've talked about how I'm making standard size boxes, and because of this very problem, because here's my Power Grid box, which maybe you've seen before, maybe you haven't, I don't know. But this is the standard size with this footprint that I make. The heights of it will vary depending on the game. But when you get this one, it's just slightly smaller in all dimensions. And when these are on the shelf, like this, they don't look too bad when there's two of them, but when you've got a load of them and they're all slightly different sizes, they look more rubbish than rubbish. They look terrible, they look awful. So if I was doing this again, I would make this Java box to this standard size, even though I'd be wasting space in it. Very important point. I mean, if you get them, one thing if you make one box, but if you get into like box making, which you won't, but if you did, really think from day one about your standard sizes. Anyway, so this is Java. This box looks really nice. I really like all this art. Now, let's talk about the top here. What are the negs? The negs are, it doesn't fit on the box lid very well, so there's an uneven frame. Live with that. That's a bit rough. This where it's cut off. I didn't even think about trying to do anything about that. I would sort that out now. I would do that differently. I'd either try and maybe scrape it off, which is my new found technique, or I'd probably cut something out and try and stick something else in there. I'd change that. Now, let's have a look at the ends. These are a little bit nice. I quite like these. These have come out, but again, not quite long enough. You know, they're short on these because I had to. The old box was massive. These old Java and Tikal and boxes, they were huge, and this one was too big, and I couldn't cut it to the size of the box because it would have cut halfway through some lettering or halfway through an aspect of the picture or something. So that was the biggest picture I could get out that still had some kind of sense to it. And the same with this one. I think I was cutting things off the edge there. It's a bit rough here, you know. It's alright, but you know, I'm cutting through things there. This side is quite nice, Java, and I've got the Ravensburger, and on this one I've only put one thing on one end. I mean, again, I'm not doing these little finger holes anymore because they're a pain. But the reason I've done that is because of this Java. I couldn't put it in the middle because it would cut the Java in half, and I couldn't put one on each end because there wasn't enough room, so I just put one. That side looks alright. This side, same as the other side. This side is a little bit more messy. Now it looks nicer in some ways than that side because that's like got more black in it. This is really bright red, and that looks really nice on the shelf. That red looks fabulous on the shelf. I love it. Should be more games red like that. there are. This is a mess though, you know, here, look, you know, again, and I wouldn't stand for this these days. You know, where I've just chopped off and I've chopped through numbers and chopped through stuff willy-nilly. We'll give it a matte. Not good. One of the problems with this is that I had was because I made it so thin, very hard to fit this lettering on here nicely. I'm right at my limits on this, and really it would look nicer like that with more space to the top and the bottom. Why do I even bother doing this? The boxes practically are great, but how they look, it's 50-50. I'd say well, maybe a bit more than that, I don't know, 65-35, something like that. You know, there's quite a lot of boxes that I'm a bit like, there's always something about the look of it that makes me, and you know, this is one of them, things like that, and these. Even though I don't mind this one, but it's only a box, who cares? Right, let's take it up with my stupid one-ended bits, which is nonsense. That's great, isn't it? There's not much to say about this box. It's pretty boring. I don't know why. Right, I got a German edition of this, so I had the German rules, so I had to print out the English rules. And again, same old thing as always. Whenever you want to print something out, your printer runs out of ink halfway through. Every single time. You can print something out, and the ink runs out of your printer. And you know, it's like, oh, so you buy a new cartridge for loads of money, ridiculous money. I mean, printers, why don't they make the printers more expensive and the ink cheaper? I hate the way the printers are like so cheap. The printer, you know, buy a printer for the cost of a cheap meal, and then the ink is stupid value. Do it the other way around. Make the printer the price that it should be, 300-400 quid. And then the ink, make it nothing. I hate it. Anyway, so you could do that, and you could buy a new cartridge, and then it could be full of ink, and then you're doing a project and it'll run out of ink halfway through. It just always does it. So there we go. Board now. For some reason, God knows why, I didn't put any stops in this one. I must have just forgot, because that's no good. You know, if you're rattling the board around, rattling the game around, that's going to take some wear on the game board in time. I should have put, I could still put the stops in, but that's the old Java board. But again, it's just that in-between size. It's not as big as Paragrid boards and things. It's that kind of in-between size. Don't know, it's a bit odd. And then this is a bog standard affair, really. Yeah, again, I haven't made anything where you take any of these things out. Normally, if I was making a box and you'd make, you know, play a game with tiles and components, I make it so you take the bits out and you put all the bits next to the board so people could then get to them and the box wouldn't be there. But I think with this one, I just put the box next to the board and you can just dig in to get all this stuff. This box is a rush job. I can see it's, you know, I've kind of rushed it. I mean, you know, here I've done my old thing of angling all the tiles out like this with a plastic slip in there, so it's easy to slide them out like this. You know, when you get one, you know, and so the things can't get caught. I'm still not convinced about this technique, because it's okay if you've got something like that, or you've got a lot of room and a lot of spare room, but if you're tight for room like you are here or here, it's very hard to get them in so they don't stick up above. You have to get them in just perfectly, because, you know, if you put them in like that and that sticks up above, you can't get the box on it properly. It's, I don't know, I'm revisiting some of these old boxes that I haven't actually looked at in a while. it's made me confused about this issue, whether this was good or not, do you know? And I'm erring on the side of not good. I like the way you can pull them out. I really like that. That's really nice. But as you know, you've seen boxes that I've done already, and maybe ones in the past, especially when I come to Steam Train Game and my Dominion box, which is a really bad box. I don't know. And I saw a really good thing on a phone call insert geek list on BGG of a way they did things like tiles. It was for 18xx games, and they had a tray, and it was really good. You know, the tiles were stashed like they're down like this in the tray, and you could get access to each one. And I mean, it was very complicated, really complicated thing that was made, and so what was nice with that, especially on like the train game, you could see what each hexagon was, whereas it doesn't matter if this is only 4 types or something, but if you had lots of different types of hexes. I don't know, I'm in two minds about this. I don't know if you understand what I'm talking about, you might not. And then look at this, I mean, that's rubbish. You know, this is all the people's playing pieces. I've just thrown them in there. Sure, it's got a plastic bit to get them out. That's really poor. And the only reason I can think why I've done that is because I was struggling to find space to make 4 different compartments for all the different colours. That's the only reason I thought. Well, I'll just put them in there and we'll just live with something that's a bit pooey for now. Because, you know, here, if you want to get your game pieces out, your pieces, you've got to dig in there, and like, there you go, I only touched it and a bit's flown out. But, you know, imagine trying to get all your black pieces out, and that's a really poor solution. That's a really poor solution. And I think, again, maybe this was in a period where I was maybe rushing a bit because I had a limited amount of time to make boxes, and maybe I wanted to make 2 or 3, you know, I had a few days off or whatever. I thought I'll make some boxes, and I was running out of time. I think that might have been what happened there. But to be honest, these are probably better off in baggies in there, and I might do that. There's more to talk about in this box than I thought. This is, you know, this is okay, this kind of thing. It's great in gameplay. To, you know, you're playing right, you need a tile, you just pick it out, and it's great for gameplay. It's not so easy for designing the box to have something like this, because you just don't know what height you need, especially if you're trying to minimise the height of it. You know, because how it goes, you know, you push it a bit and there's all bits sticking up, and oh, someone's phone. I might do an errata for this.